Ship's log, Friday, October 16th, 2000 hours. We headed from Everett to Des Moines to meet up with some friends who were taking delivery of their brand new Ranger Tug R27 outboard, same as ours. It's 40 nautical miles from Everett to Des Moines Marina. The first 30 nautical miles we were doing 24-ish knots the entire time, normal 1 to 2 foot chop, easy, normal cruising conditions around Puget Sound. Once we hit Alki Point, West Seattle, with only 10 nautical miles to go, we found ourselves headed directly into a south wind that was blowing 20 plus knots. We found ourselves in 3 to 5 foot seas with an occasional 6-footer. We had to drop speed to 4 to 8 knots, bow into the waves at an angle, up and down, water over the bow constantly. A wall of water. The kind of water that you have to wait for the waterfall to finish falling before you can see out the front window. The bow never went under the water. The occasional 6-footers, I remember going up the wave, the boat would crest through the top of the wave and it would come down gracefully, landed softly. The boat did not slam down. It was a lot of up and down with some port and starboard rocking. We were bow into the wind and waves, heading directly south into a south wind going against the waves. In the Ranger Tug R27 outboard, it's a 27-foot boat, but it's actually 32 foot overall and has a Yamaha 300 horse power outboard. We felt safe and secure. I did not feel white-knuckled at all, but I also felt, I don't want to be here, stop this ride, I want to get off. But we were on the ride, there was no stopping, there was no going back, as I knew bow into the waves and wind was better than a following sea with following bad weather. And at this point, there was no guarantee that what was behind us was any better than what was in front of us. I was very impressed with the handling and the performance of our Ranger Tug. It took us almost 2 hours to go that last 10 nautical miles. On another note, during that time, which was 1 to 6 p.m. Friday afternoon, listening to VHF Channel 16, the U.S. Coast Guard received a report of a 31-foot sailboat that capsized and sank off the coast of Saltwater State Park, which is close to the Des Moines Marina. Folks on shore watched it happen and called for help. We were watching the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter search for several hours overhead, and a U.S. Coast Guard ship arrived as well. They don't know for sure whether anybody was actually on board at the time. Then another distress call for a kiteboarder up near Alki Beach was called in to the Coast Guard. We passed by that kiteboarder earlier in the day. I took a picture of him as we passed by. The U.S. Coast Guard searched for him as well, later calling off the search as a false alarm. Apparently his board was found without him and someone on shore called it in. When we got to Des Moines, I wasn't sure if we'd be able to get into the marina. We made our approach, got within sight of the green buoy at the end of the fishing pier. A large wave picked us up completely, nearly broadside. The boat listed side to side, and we felt the entire boat get moved by the ocean. I immediately turned the boat around, hit the throttles hard, and headed southwest away from Des Moines. It wasn't about to let us get thrown into the fishing pier or the rocks. We went 2 nautical miles across the channel and found shelter behind Robinson Point. That little bit of distance put us safely in calm 1 foot or less seas. We waited an hour, made it a second attempt for Des Moines. Halfway across the channel, it was obvious. Whitecaps were everywhere. We could see the water crashing on the rocks outside of Des Moines. We went back to the same shelter of Robinson Point. We found a decent spot in 70 foot of water to drop the anchor. I put out all 250 foot of road, which included 50 foot of chain, and I buried our Rock in a 10 anchor good into the seafloor. We slept soundly at anchor with just the occasional 1 foot slow roller coming through. It was a very peaceful night. The anchor didn't drag at all. The next morning, all was calm, and we arrived in Des Moines at 7:30 in the morning. We did not intend to hit this bout of weather. We left Everett early to get to Des Moines before the weather was supposed to hit hard. The advisory was listed as minor. It was later updated, extended, and we found ourselves stuck in the middle of it. Unfortunately, we don't have any video or pictures of the terrible seas. We couldn't open any windows or hatches as the water was splashing everywhere outside. The inside fogged up something awful, even with the heater and the fan blower running. LaZina would wipe off the port side as far as she could reach of the window. I would wipe off the starboard side, what little bit I could reach, just so I could see both sides of the boat, so I could see the direction of the waves coming at me, so I could drive into them correctly. I'm not brave or gutsy, nor did I head out looking for bad weather. We've been in bad weather before in our Maxim bow rider, which was a 22-foot open bow boat, a couple of times, as in twice in the 12 years we had her on the water. This past Friday was by far the worst we've ever been in, and yet we remained calm under the conditions and arrived safe and sound. For your info, I was scared and white-knuckled once in the Maxim bow rider, but that's a different story to tell. When we first looked at Ranger tugs and asked the question about seaworthiness of the R27 outboard, we considered this to be our own testimonial. Channel surfing is very seaworthy as an intercoastal cruiser. We had a great time at the Des Moines Marina Saturday, chilling on the dock, over dinner with drinks with our friends and their brand new Ranger Tug 27 outboard.